Yeah,
Okay.
nah, that's good.
So I've prepared some questions for you because
All right,
everybody
man, let's get into
knows you're the you're the you're the guy to go to for advice on programming and understanding how to really set a program, especially at our gym. I feel like you stand out in that aspect, especially just like making sure that your programs actually make sense, and what exercises to pair like together.
it. Yeah, that's fair.
Um, I mean, not a lot of trainers actually take the time, and it's terrible to say, but it's true. Not a lot of trainers take the time to learn about programming and understand like what mesocycles are and like how long programs
Yeah,
should be, how frequently you should change your exercises, and how to go about progressing exercises within a program. It's just kind of like show up and we'll just do whatever, or like whatever's available, like we'll do.
and people get away with that because at first, when you come from not moving at all, no matter what, if you're hopping in the gym and doing something, you're gonna progress. And people think like, oh, this is easy. I don't know why I would consider having someone plan it out for me when I can walk in here, do a machine, get a nice pump, and then I leave. Like it'll work for the maybe even like for some people like a year and a half, you'll still see progress, but
Right.
once you hit that point and you can't, or you might not even hit that point, either way, programming is definitely like it's a way to make sure that you're definitely making progress.
Right.
You know what I mean? At least strength wise.
Well, I mean, I feel like in a bodybuilding program or a building, when you're trying to build muscle, that still, especially if you've been doing it for years, I mean, a program's only going to help you continue to see progress. I feel like
Yeah.
oftentimes, especially at a box gym, the people that show up haven't been training for years. Not at least the people that are going for personal training. Oftentimes, they're coming back new, or they've been trying it off and on for years. They haven't actually been consistent. So it's
Mhm.
easy for them to just walk in and meet with a trainer who's just starting and just like wing it. So that was one of my questions. One of my questions is how does periodization, how does that play into your training as a trainer? Like, do you use it frequently, and how do you implement that? If you could maybe define it in your own terms, like what does that word mean to you, and how does that play into your success as a trainer?
Well, honestly, like you were saying, um, with like most people coming in and they don't have too much experience, or if they do, it's on and off with other trainers and other like experiences, other forms of fitness, like there's a ton of things to choose from. But for the most part, I treat programming pretty simple, but at the same time, there's a meaning behind everything. Like, I'll never put an exercise in as like, oh, okay, you're moving, or like, oh, okay, you're getting your heart rate, like you're getting your heart rate up. You know what I mean? I'm honestly a big believer in like everyone can build muscle and
Mm-hmm.
continue to build muscle regardless of the goal in like 95% of cases, I would say. Um, so all my programming includes strength work, um, eventually progressing into more advanced strength work, and some phases can include like balancing and like while working towards strength, and just getting you used to different movements so you're strong with your body. So, I mean, periodization, it's like, for the most part, you can just think of I'm taking a starting point and I'm progressing it, and then I'm taking some load off so I don't hit a wall, and then I'm progressing with a starting point that's better than my first starting point.
Okay.
So, for the most part, just progressively overloading, giving yourself time to recover, and then continuing the process.
So, two things that you just said that stood out to me were, well, first, it seems like a lot of your program is based off of strength.
Mhm.
A lot of people come in and they're like, yeah, I just want to grow my glutes. And they have zero strength. And they
Yeah.
can't, they can barely like move a barbell. And it's like, so like
Mhm.
we could start with trying to like grow muscle, but you need, I feel like a base level of strength to then be able to achieve some muscle growth.
100%.
They're not the same, but there's overlap between strength and muscle size. So if you're trying to,
There's like so much overlap.
mhm,
Like, because I mean, the fundamental, um, like, philosophy behind progressive overload is that once you get, like, once you can handle more weight, you can create more tension through the muscle, and then you're getting more muscular gains from it. So if you're stronger, you have more potential to get bigger.
right.
It's kind of that sense. But yeah, they're not necessarily linear, depending on your training style. If you're going for like 3x3s every time you're in the gym, you won't grow as much,
Right.
but
You will still
not
grow.
you'll still grow a lot. But it just depends what else you do, your total volume. There's a lot that goes into it.
And I do want
But
to touch on volume in a little bit because there's a question that I have that touches on that. But I want to bring it back to that second point. The other thing that you said was that you're lifting until you're about to hit a wall and then you're backing off. And some people don't understand that. So I want you to elaborate on that a little bit. Like, what do you mean by you're
sure.
lifting until you're about to hit a wall? Like, what does that mean?
Okay, so the main thing that we focus on with like programming is like the full program can be like a 12-month long plan, but within those months there's phases. And say phase 1, 2, and 3 build up to, you have bench press in all phase 1, 2, and 3, and you're working different rep ranges in phase 1, different weights. You're testing yourself out, you're having a deload, and then you come back with different rep ranges, different load, different volume, but you're doing it as a progression from the last phase.
Mm.
And then you progress, get to this tall ladder, and if your body's continuously progressing and you're really just constantly like putting all that pressure on your nervous system for a consistent, 3 months, it's well deserved to take a week where you still stay active, but you're not pushing yourself into your limits
Mm.
every 4 days, like 4 days out of a week. So it's good to take time to recuperate, let your body, even if you can't really realize it, your body can definitely
Feel it.
take the rest.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it just prevents you from plateauing
Things
for the
like
most part.
your tendons take longer to heal, central nervous system, your nerves take longer to heal. So your
That's
muscles,
things that,
like your muscles might feel good, like you might feel like you're at 100%, but you're never truly at 100% unless you really take some time away from strength training. And so I was talking with Bass the other day, and we
mhm,
were touching on that, how like a lot of trainers will do the same exact workouts no matter who's standing in front of them. And like on one hand, it's like it's good to only preach what you know. So it's like if that's what you know and you're comfortable with it, I understand that. But at the same time, you should be trying to educate yourself as a trainer at all times, so that if you do come across someone who has tendonitis, like or any type of illness, that one came out to mind because that's what we were talking about. But if you
yeah,
if you come across something like that, you should be able to adapt your programming and help someone still see progress. And
100%. I mean, that's like, I'd say that's the majority of the job right there. I
Mm.
mean, someone comes to you with a specific goal. I mean, they're not looking for a blanket sheet of like an exercise program. They want something that you as a person spoke with them, understood who they are, kind of know what they like, and make the program so they enjoy what they're doing, but they're still progressing and they're not getting tired of it or feeling like it's a waste of their time
Mm.
because they're doing things that you can explain to them how it's beneficial and they'll see the results because they're thinking about that goal. And if they're not reaching that goal, they're going to be like, why am I not reaching it? I mean, if the program's not built for their goals, then they they probably have a point, you know what I mean?
Right.
So, I mean, if you have someone that comes in, they're like, "Hey, I want to really strengthen my bench press," but but you end up having them do like only machines and no actual flat bench. It's like they'll get stronger, but they want a bench. Like
Right.
even if you think that they're not ready, it's really not the worst thing to just get them on the bench, even if it's only for a few sets, and then you have them work extra hard on the machines to get like stable strength work
Mm-hmm.
so they can improve their bench press. But as far as they know, since they hit that bench, next time they're in, oh yeah, those last sets did a lot for me. But it's really their form wasn't the greatest, but
Right.
on the machine it's fixed, and they're gonna get strength from that.
Right.
So
The other reason I like
just
that is because you could, it just humbles them a little bit. Maybe you bring them over. I do that with clients all the time. They'll ask, like, "Oh, can we barbell back squat?" I'm like, "Yeah, we can do it. Let's go." And I'll walk you through it. But then as you're doing it, I'm like, "This is why we shouldn't do that. Like, look at your form, and you're not able to maintain it. So we will return to this." And so you give them, it humbles them a little bit, say, so they could try it, and then you walk them through why it's not a good idea. Um,
yeah, I mean, for certain clients, that's definitely a solid way to kind of be like, I like your ambition, and I'm gonna like respect your desire, and I'll be like, hey, you know what? If you really want to try this out, I'm not gonna stop you. But if it is getting to a point where it's not gonna be beneficial, or even worse, can lead to problems in the future,
mhm.
then we're gonna backtrack for your safety. And if they see that in front of their face, some people need that.
Yeah.
So that's true.
Happened to me the other day. Got a new client, and she came in with her sister, and they want to train together, but her sister is so much more coordinated than she is.
Hmm.
And so, like, the exercise, again, they want to train together. And what I ended up telling them was, listen, if you guys just show up maybe 15 minutes apart so that I can spend time with your sister and give her the exercises, because if we're doing banded or like TRX squats, she's not going to feel
Yeah.
like she's getting a good workout. And it works for you, but then you see her doing barbell back squats and you like get jealous. And so, like, I let her try it, and I'm like, this is why you guys should like kind of offset your sessions so that I can spend time doing the barbell back squat with her so that she can actually get a good workout. And then we can spend some time without her doing a suspension band squat so that you can just improve your form. And again,
I mean,
I think that requires you to be a good trainer, to really say, listen, I understand what your goal is. I can design a program to help you get there, but you're at a different starting place. And so we've got to modify these exercises, or we can get maybe down the line, maybe a few months from now, we come back and try the barbell back squat, but you're just not here yet. And just being honest with them and clear with them to how you can get them to their goal.
yeah, for sure. I mean, it's all it all comes back to like everyone's different. So, like we were saying from the very beginning, like the blanket, like, oh, I made this program and it's gonna get everybody their goals. It's like that shows that not everybody's at the same spot. So, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, say you wrote that program and included barbell squats and it didn't have a regression listed for people that couldn't do it, assuming that they knew that they couldn't do it, um, then it's just not going to be beneficial for them, because then they'll try it or they'll do it thinking they're doing it right, and they could hurt themselves. So it's all about knowing the client, figuring out their goals and how you can match it optimally, but also like with considerations of who they are.
Right. I had one more question regarding programming specifically.
Sure.
It was based on when it makes sense. When does it make sense to include percentages in your programming? Because personally, that's not how I program. I can, but that's not how I work out. I don't work out based on percentages, so I don't really include that in my programming. I know, like Renee, for example, a lot of folks listening might know him as Black Giant on Instagram, but he does percentage-based programs. So, again, he's a power lifter. So I don't want to say too much because I have a feeling where you're going to go with your answer. But again, he does a lot of percentage-based training, and I don't. So when does it make sense to include that, and who should be including percentage-based programming in their
So yeah,
workouts?
the percentages are definitely more of like an advanced programming thing, where if you have someone that has maxed out like their lifts before, they've been in it for a while, and you can give them a block style card and they're going to know how to read it and get it done, that's when I would introduce percentages. Or like more basic way to put it, like if you're going to use percentages, it's only on a compound movement or a strength based movement. For accessories, like a dumbbell press or like dumbbell lunges, any form of like non like strength movement, non like, I don't want to say Olympic stuff, but you get what I'm saying, like
Yeah.
the powerlifting, all those,
Your big compound movements.
yeah, essentially just like compound movements, you can use percentages. But accessories, it's not really worth it, because it can be relative to your 1 rep max of a compound, but necessarily you're not maxing out your, your quad extensions. You know what I mean? So it's a little different. But yeah, I think programming percentages is beneficial to track the heavy lifts. I use percentages, and I just go to the gym. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm a trainer and I do it for a living, but for the most part, I implement percentages because I want to increase my maxes and I want to get stronger. So, like, my main goal is I like to get bigger, so I eat a lot and I try to get bigger through like through training. But with that, I want to get stronger. So, every day I go in, I start with a compound lift based off of a percentage of my 1 rep max. I do 1 warm-up set and then 3 main working sets based off of a percentage of my 1 rep max. And say it's my 80%. If I'm getting 8 or more, then that means I'm beating my max, essentially. So I should be progressing. And then come test week, I'll have a new max. So that's kind of like, it's also fun. Like, it's fun to kind of be like, oh, okay, technically, like, scientifically, I can hit this for 7. Like,
Yeah.
so if I don't get this, then something's going on. You know what I mean? So
Or if you get more than 7, you're like, okay, like technically that means I'm stronger than, and you can kind of guess how strong you are.
yeah. So for the most part, I think it's definitely intimidating at first, but at the end of the day, if you've done a 1 rep max, it's as simple as like looking up like what's my what's if I did 250 pounds for 5, what's my 1 rep?
Right.
And then your 1 rep, you can take your percentages from there. And but yeah, I think
It gamifies it in a way.
it's a good tool, especially if like if you want to give weights. Some people they need to know the exact weight that they're using.
Mm.
So depending on the software you can use, I use Excel and I like program it so as soon as I put their max in a box, it it like puts all of their weights for each week through their 5-week program. So they know that they're constantly progressing and lifting more each week. But yeah. Very good tool.
Yeah. Personally, because of the clients that I train, I find that it doesn't make sense to work based on percentages because we're not really going for maxes. Like, that's not the goal. Most people that walk into the gym are just like, yeah, I want to lose a little bit of weight and I'm looking to build a
100%.
little. Or the women are like, yeah, I just want to build up my glutes and they all do this. Like, I want to shred the core. I want to do this, right?
That's the classic.
So it's like we don't need to figure out what your 1 rep max is, and so like I don't need to do that. But if you are working with someone who is a little bit more advanced or has been lifting for a few years, again, I think you hit it on the nose. It could be a great tool for you to help them figure out exactly what weight to use so that they can continue seeing progress. So
Yeah. I mean, most people that I program percentages for, they played college football. They played, even football in high school. Some high schools have strength training cards. So if they've had that experience in the past, it's definitely beneficial because they're gonna know how to read it themselves. You don't have to explain it. But I think it's a good tool if someone's like really like if they come to you with a strength goal, definitely implement percentages. Especially if they know their maxes.
mm-hmm.
If not, obviously it's you can't really do a percentage off of a unknown number unless you get really intricate. But I don't know how to do that.
Above my pay grade right now.
Yeah, no, that would be some wizardry. But yeah, nah. I mean, for the most part, like if you have a new client that doesn't know necessarily, or doesn't have too much experience, you just take them through the basics, try to get them a good fundamental strength,
Yeah.
and then see where they're at from there. If they're hitting their body comp goals, hey, you want to get stronger, then let's do it,
Yeah.
Because no matter where you're at, you're gonna have a goal, so say someone hits their goal, it's not like, oh, okay, well, thanks for the help, I'm out of here.
See ya.
It's like, hey, well, I mean, now that you're here, how are we gonna keep it? Or if you're here, what else can we improve on?
Right.
Like, your body comp might have been good, but are you like coordinated? Like, could you use some athletic work? Could you use, or even outside of that, like, okay, your body comp's good. What could we improve on even further?
Right.
Like, like you have a good body fat percentage, you have some good muscle. What's a lift that you wish you could improve on?
Mm-hmm.
And then that's a whole new goal. You can set your whole program around it.
So, the next question that I had,
I bet.
I prepared quite a few. I don't know if we're gonna go through them all.
Yeah, it's all good.
Okay, let me think about how I want to ask this. I think this is gonna come with a backstory because at Crunch, I'm known for being the person that doesn't like to track calories and bulking and cutting is just not my thing. Right?
Ice cream for breakfast.
I
Anyways,
they don't need to know about that. Okay, I was just feeling it that
go
day.
on. Yep. Ben and Jerry's for breakfast.
Had 17 grams of protein, and I was like, all right, bet. 1,100 calories.
Basically a protein bar.
Anyways, um, the reason I say that is because I feel like it's really restricting on the type of people that I work with. Um, Not to say that it's not effective, because it's definitely effective for some people. But what I find is that most people who come into a commercial gym and you start like telling them, all right, this is how many calories you start eating, you lose them like almost immediately. Like they'll nod their head at you, and like it just goes in one ear, out the other, and then the next week you're like, did you hit your like you were supposed to eat 2,400 calories, like did you even get close? And they wouldn't be able to tell you. So I just don't think it's an effective thing, because you would have to educate folks so much on that. So I just wanted to touch on that. If you're not, again, it does work for some people, and especially if you can explain it to people well, it can be effective. If you're not going that route of counting calories, what's the best way, in your opinion, to help someone stay on top of their nutrition in the gym?
Um, so honestly, my favorite thing to do when I'm with a client, I mean, first off, they're like, there's this quote, oh my God, it's like, nobody knows how much you know until they know that you care.
Nobody
And
knows how much you know until they know that you care.
yeah, so it's like you could be the most knowledgeable guy in the world, but if you could give a shit about like how their weekend went or like how their morning's going, then no one's gonna listen to you
Mm-hmm.
because you're not personable. You're not someone that you could just interact with. And just being friendly with someone, you can retain so much more. So I think having that like friendly, personable relationship, it makes it relatable. Like I'm not gonna come in and tell these people, hey, like yeah, this morning I had like a lean, like you know what I'm saying? Like I'm not gonna come in and bombarding them with like, oh yeah, I'm perfect, so like you can do it too.
Mm-hmm.
It's more like I'll be like, yeah, I got a Dunkin' and I got my 2 donuts. Like, it's like, and then they'll laugh and they'll be like, ah, yeah, like I know how it goes, like, and it's relatable. And then what I was getting at first is my favorite thing to do is to ask someone like, oh, what'd you have for dinner last night? Because I meet with people in the morning, so I'll just like ask them what they had. Oh, like,
I think it cut off at the point where you were saying that you have clients in the morning, and so you ask them, what have you eaten for dinner?
yeah, for sure. I always I just bring up the topic of food while I'm training. Um, 'Cause if they're doing their workout and they're doing it well and you've hit all your cues, you can count with your fingers and they're not going to be replying to you while they lift, but you can use that time as like they're doing 8 reps. Once I get here, I'm like, so like, what'd you have for dinner? And then they'll finish their set. They're like grinding it out. They rack it and they're like, oh, and then they start talking to me about their food, and they're gonna be honest with me because, like I said, you build that like personal, friendly relationship. I'm relatable. I'm not perfect. I eat like shit sometimes. Like it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And they can tell me, oh my God, like my kids, like they were really craving pizza, so we got Domino's delivered. Oh my God, damn, like that's, I get it, like with the kids, but hey, like if you're having that for dinner, just consider that in the morning. Like make sure you have a really nice breakfast, a really solid lunch,
Yeah.
you're eating whole foods, and then say your kids want to have that, whatever. Like you're not gonna die, but as long as you're conscious of your nutrients the majority of the time, you'll start to see the results you want. And I think a lot of people take that lightly. They're like, okay, this guy isn't forcing me to change my world,
Yeah.
but I can still enjoy my time with my kids, and I just have to be a little more locked in the morning. I can't get my Dunkin' and my donuts. I gotta make my overnight oats with my berries.
Yeah. And I
So
think
yeah.
that's the perfect way to put it, because your diet doesn't have to be perfect for you to start to see results. Maybe for you to be at the top, like at the highest of your potential, you gotta lock everything in. Like that
Mm.
goes for like athletes and stuff like that. If you're doing something that requires you to be performing at your highest level, then yeah, it makes sense. You got to figure that all out and like count all your calories and know exactly how many macros you're eating and follow all of that. But for your everyday average Joe who's just trying to get through their 9 to 5 and make it to the end of the week, it's like
Yeah.
if you have some five guys over the weekend, I'm not gonna be like, oh, like it's not the end of the world. It's not like you're not gonna see progress on your bench because of that,
Exactly.
right? And so I tell people
Yeah.
like if I eat out, I don't drink. Obviously, things like that, like I try not to do. Only drink if it's a real cause for. If I'm at my cousin's wedding, I'm drinking, bro. Like I'm gonna
Yeah.
have a drink. Am I drinking every weekend? No. Personally, I just don't see the fun in that. But also that will have a big impact on how you perform, things like that. But if you're having a domino, like your kids want pizza, I would hope that you're not the one to be like, I can't. We can't order pizza because I'm trying to increase my bench. Like it just doesn't. It doesn't add up. You got to
Yeah.
live your life, and that's why I'm big on not counting calories, because I think it drives people crazy. Everyday folks don't really want to think about how many calories. I think if you just try to eat a whole foods, find foods that you enjoy to eat, stay on the outside of the supermarket when you go to the supermarket, I think you'll be okay. If you eat till you're satiated and you're not just eating and stacking away potato chips, I think you'll
Yeah.
be okay, and I think you'll see progress. And I don't know. That's why I say what I do.
I mean, I think that's always important. I mean, if you try to like eat 3,000 calories of whole foods, it's gonna be very difficult.
Right.
So it's like at the end of the day, if you clean up your diet, inevitably you're gonna lose calories and you'll be fine. But um, yeah, counting calories is definitely a select crowd. Some people find it beneficial because it keeps them on track. But I mean, you're not gonna grab food and be like, "Oh, gotta get on my phone and plug this in." Like, it's a
Dude.
little, it's a little ridiculous. So, especially for the average person that's like going to their job, like they're not trying to log their lunch while they're on break. It's so, but for some people, they're so lost on what calories are,
Mm-hmm.
and they have no idea that something as small as your palm can be like almost 1,000 calories.
Right.
It's like, and I mean, like we were talking the Ben and Jerry's. I mean, you have like a couple spoons of that, and it's like 300 right there.
Yeah.
It's
Like
like
250
when you,
calories right there.
when you don't think about that. You're like, oh yeah, I had a little bit. It's like you did, but a little bit is a lot.
Like you can put
And
away Oreos like a motherfucker. Like Oreos. I think a pack of Oreos is like 2,000 calories. It's like
ridiculous.
I could put
And
that away
oh
so
my God,
easily.
drinking your calories too is like if you drink your calories, it's gonna be very difficult.
Mm.
If you, I've always sworn by this, water, milk, and I mean some inevitables. Like a lot of people do coffee,
Mm.
sure, tea, sure, but like other than that, like your morning coffee, if you just really can't cut that out and it's like your morning routine, who cares? But like, why are you grabbing a soda with your lunch? Like, just drink water and hydrate yourself. Like, I don't know. I've always felt that way. I get it. People drink their sodas, people drink their monsters, but like, I don't know. Drink your water and you'll be much better off.
Yeah.
Specifically to weight loss goals. I mean, and just in general, it's not worth it having like artificial syrups in your body.
Or the sucralose is like they'll put zero sugar and then they'll add sucralose in, and that's an artificial sugar. So it's like extra sweet. I don't know if that is a bad thing for you. I haven't looked into it honestly, but I just hate the fact that they say there's zero sugar and then put like artificial sugar in there so that they can just get people to drink their beverage. It's like, listen, just drink some water. You'll feel better. You'll have, you'll mentally, you'll just feel like locked in and focused. It's like, it doesn't get better than that, really.
Yeah, I think it's very important to drink water.
Those were the
Most
questions that I had prepared.
All right, cool.
Again, I appreciate you taking the time. I apologize for the technical difficulties.
You're good, bro.
I got to figure that side of it out. But I think conversations like these are going to be valid, and they'll give us an opportunity to, like, I don't know. I'm going to send you this video. I'm going to put it on my Instagram and on my YouTube channel. If you'd like to put a post, or if you said something and you're like, I'm glad I said that, like, hopefully you feel like you can use the content.
Yeah. I'll honestly, I'm trying to figure out what I'm doing with content, but yeah, definitely send it over. I'll look at it. I'll definitely repost your stuff. But yeah, I think it's good. I think a lot of people should take value into what people that devote their life to this shit have to say. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like like everything you or I might say, like they might not fully buy into, or someone might not feel like they want to take something away from that. But at the end of the day, like, I believe the shit I say because it's worked for me, or I've seen it work for the people I've done it for. So everything is subjective in our field. That's what's great. You can converse about anything and debate about anything. I could tell you that low reps don't build muscle, and you could tell me they do, and both of us could bring up studies to prove it.
Right.
So it's like,
It's just engaging.
yeah, I love this shit, bro. I love being involved in fitness because it, like, as a human, you're inevitably involved with fitness. Like, that's part of being alive. Like, if you're not fit, then you're gonna break down. If your body doesn't work, you're cooked. You're gonna die. Like, so
Yeah.
that's why I love this shit, bro.
I mean, that's what it all kind of boils down to at the end of the day, is just staying healthy and trying to stay as physically fit as possible. The other reason that I like it is because, again, we could have the same conversation like 400 times. But every time I feel like I walk away knowing something or understanding something a little bit better, or, maybe I find a new point that I wasn't really considering. So it's like, every single time I have this conversation, even if I've talked about it before, I always value it.
There's so many different perspectives for the same thing. You can break down any movement, any philosophy, any like training structure. You can argue it.
Yeah.
It's but I think it's good. I mean, the reason why is because if you're moving, that's a good thing. So, like, at the end of the day, it's not really the worst, but everything can be improved. That's all it is.
Just trying to help each other become a little bit better.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Improvements.
All right, man.